Perfect prospect pairing. Ohio State star wide receiver Carnell Tate is a passing game elevator for an NFL offense.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. That's my guy, Keith Sanchez. He's a director of scouting with the Draft Network and 2019 national champion with those LSU Tigers. And as always, thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout for being our everydayers, guys. We have perfect prospect pairings, NFL draft storylines, and of course, a goodie, a oldie, but a favorite. Coach them up, guys. But before we get into all of this content, today's episode, this is Crossover Thursday, and it's presented by Prospects. Download the Prospects app today. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Perfect prospect pairing, Keith, and just so going through college football and thinking about some good prospect to team fits, I go to Ohio State and to one of their receivers. It's not Jeremiyah Smith, guys. Can't use until next year. But to me, it's Carnell Tate, Keith. And the team I want to pair him with, and I think he'll be a perfect fit for, is the New England Patriots. I think putting him in New England gives the Patriots a bona fide wide receiver to develop another receiver, him, Kyle Williams. I don't foresee Pop Douglas being a long-term answer there for them. This isn't the Tom Brady. If TB12 was leading this team, maybe, Keith, because he loved that slot receiver, that chain mover, that archetype, right? But it's Drake May now. I don't expect Pop Douglas to be the guy that's going to lead you in receptions and yards and touchdown. Carnell Tate is 6'3", 195 pounds. And this is a guy, Keith, that I think I'm going to be higher on than the consensus. And if it's one thing, and here's the thing. Remember this past draft cycle, it was a Mecca Ibuka. People were like, he's only a slot. I don't think he's a first-round pick. Ask Baker Mayfield how he feels about that first-round pick.
Right.
The
NFL thus far, how they feel, right?
Ask Sauce Gardner. He got one-handed on Sunday, right? It's just this young man, like Emeka Ibuka is defying some of those odds, right? You got Marvin Harrison and Kyler Murray trying to figure out their quarterback-receiver relationship in Arizona. But then you got JSN cooking over there in Seattle, where people were a little hesitant on JSN as well, right? Does he really run 4.4? There's a lot of questions or whatever the case may be about those guys. I feel like there's going to be a lot of the same questions about Carnell Tate, but I advise anybody to go watch the tape of him. This is arguably one of the best route runners in college football. His game, he reminds me a lot of A.J. Green. Just tall, linear, smooth, nuanced, detail, high football IQ. I think was it the Texas game where he's running a comeback route against off coverage, stems his route. He gives him a little bit of a rocker step at the top of his route. Then he explodes vertically to then put pressure on the DB, making him open the gate, open his hips, and commit to running. And then he works right back down the stem, created about 3-4 yards of separation. I was like, that was just as smooth. That's an NFL rep. But he does this on a constant basis. It's just Jeremiyah Smith is over there. So, of course, we get the ball to Jeremiyah Smith. I think putting him in this offense, like Grant, Stephon Diggs, if Diggs is still being Diggs, I think they signed to a 2-3 year deal. Pretty sure they have an out that they can get out after a certain amount of time. But if Diggs is still playing Diggs level football, you want the development of Kyle Williams. You got Kayshon Boutte. Jalen Polk was traded to the Saints. Javon Baker was released before the season. Like, they still don't have a bona fide answer at the receiver position from a youth standpoint. I think Carnell Tate can be that answer.
Yeah, I actually don't mind it, DP, because I forgot. It's crazy. I forgot about Stephon Diggs because he's been in the headlines for a lot of different things.
A lot of other things, yes.
But he playing decent football. But because the question I was going to ask you was, would he be stepping into the Patriots as their wide receiver one? Because I think right now they have probably 5 number 2s, right? They have 5 number 2s, but do they have a bona fide number 1? And I wonder if the Patriots would be seeking that. But I actually agree. And I think we talked about this. Maybe it was, I couldn't remember if it was Carnell Tate or Jacoby Lane, right? Because they kind of both very similar, probably body profiles.
Yeah.
You know, the AJ Green or the T
It was,
Higgins.
Lane. It was
It was
Lane.
Lane. Okay, yeah. And we kind of mentioned both of those guys. And I put both of those guys in both of those buckets, right? I think that's the ceiling for them, which are very good, very productive football players at the end of the day. I like it. Do you think he has a ceiling to be a wide receiver 1 for a team?
I do. I think the ball skills are there. And it's crazy because he's not the. And at times we get so wrapped up in the flashiness as when we're evaluating these prospects. He's not even a flashy guy. Like, he just goes out there and balls and hoops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he just gets the job done. And I think he's a guy that, let's say he's not at Ohio State and he's at, I don't know, Ole Miss, right? And he's the number one receiver. He's getting the actual targets. If he's in the offense where he's getting the pepper with the number one targets, I think the conversation about him is very different. People are more excited about him right now. It's hard to be for the casual fan, and even for a lot of draft fans, it's hard to be excited for Carnell Tate because you're looking forward to next year for Jeremiyah Smith. It's like, you know what? And Keith, I think you were one of the first people I ever heard say this phrase: "Be where your feet are." Guys, Jeremiyah Smith is next year. You got a whole nother season.
Appreciate what you have, DP.
You got a whole nother season before you can even talk Jeremiyah Smith with the NFL, right? Got a whole nother college football season left. We got this one and next year, 2026 college football season before Jeremiyah Smith can say, I'm going to the NFL. So appreciate Carnell Tate while he's here, because this is a guy that, okay, you want to take away, and that's what I'm looking for with Julian saying. You want to take away Jeremiyah Smith? That's fine. Julian, you need to start getting the ball even more to Carnell Tate. I think Carnell Tate has wide receiver 1 upside and can be that for a team that lets him grow into that role.
Yeah, okay. No, that's what I wanted to know. DP, I'm going to go ahead and squeeze my guy in real quick. I'm going to go with Jeremiyah Love to the Houston Texans. Just because I think they can use an explosive back. And over the past few years, they've been, I hate to say piecemealing because I have respect for Joe Mixon and Nick Chubb, right? But I feel like they kind of catching these guys on the back end of their career a little bit. And I think Jeremiyah Love adding some explosiveness to the run game maybe could help CJ Stroud in a indirect type of way, right? And just kind of add a different element to this offense because they're 0-3 right now, and something that people didn't foreseen. And it's you talk about the highs and the lows, right, and the swings, right? And you talk about going into last year, it was a AFC favorite to potentially make the Super Bowl, right? And then this year he's sitting at 0-3, and it's like, okay, where's the light? Where's the light at the end of the tunnel, right? So I think adding a offensive piece like that, and obviously they have to improve the offensive line. That's been a huge issue. I think they swapped 2 seasons
out now.
Yeah, Laramie Tunsil, and then they went in, for another offensive tackle, and then
Cam Robinson,
and then swapped out a guard, Kenyon Green, I believe, for Ed Ingram. It's like a break-even.
New O-line coach, new OC.
Yeah, new OC.
They changed a lot.
Same problem. So they have to figure something out. Because from where they were headed with the potential future of CJ Stroud to where they're headed now, to everybody, I feel like they're walking in the building scratching your head, right? Like, because it's one thing to over deliver, right? But when you start under delivering tremendously, you start asking yourself, like, which way is up? Which way is up? And so I think adding a key piece like that, and Jeremiyah Love, he's had a fairly slow start to this season, but it's been a touch thing, right? Like, feed the guy the football. And against Purdue, Notre Dame fed him the football. So I'm going Jeremiyah Love. Yeah,
back-to-back weeks. They finally fed him. It's crazy. Like, your best players, like, let's get him the football. I don't know. I feel like good things happen when you give players like Jeremiyah Love the football, and that's happened, right? And I think I love this fit, Keith, simply because the part that people don't know, and I've talked about it, Jeremiyah Love is a really good receiver out of the backfield. Like, you go turn on that Miami tape, they had him in the slot against a corner, and he whooped them. The ball was late. And it was just like, the only guys we've seen with that type of route running ability has been the CMCs, the Bijans, the Jahmyr Gibbs, like the Alvin Kamaras. Jeremiyah Love is if they keep flexing him out and moving him around, that narrative is going to pick up steam. So I'm with you. I think his ability to catch the ball in the backfield, be a explosive running back. They can't really run the ball with consistency right now. It's on CJ Stroud. It's on the offensive line, and it shouldn't be. They need to find some balance. Jeremiyah Love will absolutely bring that.
Yep, let's do it with DP. Let's keep this thing going and flowing, man. And after we do perfect pairings, we bring up what's the hottest NFL draft storyline. So if you want to know that, stay tuned. We have that coming up next.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. The NFL season is here and in full swing, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to freely use across the app. Again, new customers can bet just $5, $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 back in bonus bets to use freely across the app to bet on things like player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping into the action live as it unfolds. My question to you now is, are you ready to play? If so, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. Again, are you ready to play? And if so, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. When you think game day, you might not think Wayfair, but you should, because Wayfair is the best kept secret for incredible and affordable game day finds. Wayfair has everything you need to get your space ready for the season, whether you're tailgating outdoors or cheering from your very own living room. And some of the things that I love about Wayfair, delivery was fast, free, and hassle-free, which is a lifesaver when you need something in time for kickoff. From outdoor essentials like folding chairs and patio heaters to indoor must-haves like TV stands, serveware, Wayfair has it all in one place. Wayfair is your trusted destination for all things game day, from coolers and grills to recliners and slow cookers. Shop, save, and score today at Wayfair.com. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. NFL draft storylines to watch as we get closer and closer to the 2026 NFL draft. Keith, I go to the edge rush class. It is, I need the class to step it up. I needed to step it up. There's a lot of question marks out there right now. Of course, the top guy right now is Ruben Bain, and he's consistently putting on great film game after game.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, you can look at the numbers and see that he's balling out. Other guys, you have to actually put the tape on and say, what's going on? TJ Parker, Cassius Howell. We talked about Keldrick Falk and his tweenerism in terms of what he is and what he should be viewed as a prospect. We're looking at this edge rush group, and you're like, all right, who is going to be like, are we going to only have one guy in this class that's a bona fide, like, first round pick, and that's Ruben Bain Jr., or is somebody else going to be able to take that step forward? And I truly don't know, Keith. And teams that need to draft that game-changing edge, if you miss out on right now, the way it looks like, if you miss out on Ruben Bain, you might want to wait to the second round to be completely honest. Like, that's how it's looking right now.
So I'm glad you picked that storyline, because I actually had trouble because I just completed a mock draft. And the difficulty was plugging and playing some of these edge rushers, right? And especially when you get to I feel like a notorious spot for a run on edge rushers each year. I don't know if you feel the same way, has been like the back end of the first round, right? Like the last 6-7 spots, you go ahead and swap in some edge rushers, throw some guys in there. But it hasn't even been guys who I'm like, I feel fully comfortable with, right? And I've even almost leaned the way of flipping the script and just saying, you know what? I'm just have to kind of trust with what I know, right? Do you throw the R. Mason Thomas in? Do you throw the Derek Moore from Michigan, even though the production isn't there? Like, I see the physical tools. I mentioned Joshua Josephs from Tennessee, right? Do I throw him in the mix and just say,
David Bailey, Texas Tech, he had a good game last week.
Yeah, David Bailey from Texas Tech. So it's I'm on par with you. I agree. I wonder if it is going to have to be a flip of the names, right? And it seems in a weird way, and this ties back to the transfer portal, what we talked about, that this job is going to become more increasingly difficult because you got new faces in new places. So the production is going to be different. So therefore, what you may have at the beginning of the season may not be the product that you have at the end of the season. And that's why, you know, it may become a Stephen A. Smith fluid situation, right? That's why we might get that. But I think it's making it exciting, and we're catching at a really good time because we're just starting to hit conference play, right? And we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show, right? When we do our make a statement players and things like that, we're hitting conference play. So we're about to start getting a lot of different answers from a lot of these prospects as far as, you know, talent on talent type situations. With that being said, DP, I agree with you. And I wanted to ask you, because I was thinking about this as I was doing the mock draft. Will Clemson's, and it seems like we've been picking on Clemson, but I promise you this is a draft conversation. Will Clemson's, I guess, season and where it's trending, do we foresee it negatively impacting specific draft prospects? And the reason I bring this up in this segment, TJ Parker.
Yeah. It can. I think that the big thing is going to be watching the film. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to be the big thing. I was watching when I did the Watch the Tape episode yesterday. I looked at Jonte Cook, the former Texas receiver who transferred to Syracuse. He was cooking that secondary.
Yeah,
like he's fast, he's route running, all of that. He was balling out, man. Over 120, had 120 yards in that game. And I think I texted you because I was just like, a specific linebacker on this team is undraftable. Like, as I'm watching, I was kind of just I was watching it.
I didn't respond directly to that yet because I haven't watched him specifically.
It's bad. Every single game, it is bad. It gets worse. It's like just going down that slope. And I'm watching, and I'm like, as I'm watching, I'm like, Peter Woods is still popping to me. TJ Parker's still doing good things. I'm like, this is going to be a case where people, when draft season comes around, it's going to be those who watch the film and study it to say, okay, what happened that was out of your control? Alignments. Because I'm watching, I was watching Miami. Matter of fact, when I was watching Ruben Bain preparing for yesterday's episode, because I talked about him on Watch the Tape. And it's like watching how Miami moves him around. He plays left end, right end, wide 9, right there on the corner at 5, at 3 tech. Then they go wide even when he's at 3 tech, and they do twists and stunts. And I'm just looking at Clemson, and I'm just like, can we get some of that for TJ Parker, for Peter Woods? Can we get some of these like change of direction stuff? Can we create some lanes? And it's nothing like that. I think the narrative and what's happening in Clemson right now during the season, I think it hurts both of those players. I think once we get the draft season where everybody's now, for those who actually study the film, I think once people get into the table, like, you know what? Because I would say this, Keith, Peter Woods is this year's Walter Nolan to me. Whereas like you're played out of position, they just tell you to rec shop, anchor, 2 gap, do things that an NFL defensive coordinator is not going to ask you to do because you're 6'3", 305. They're going to play you at 3 tech. And I wouldn't be shocked if we see if he decides, I mean, unless he gets a grade that's like from the NFL draft advisory boards, like, listen, you're top 5 lock. Don't worry about it. Like Mason Graham. Mason Graham didn't have the best year last year, but I mean, you turn on that tape Sunday, you know what I mean? He was out there making his plays and feeling his presence being felt. If he doesn't have to go to the Senior Bowl, but if Peter Woods goes to the Senior Bowl, I wouldn't be shocked if he followed that Walter Nolan path, drop a little bit more weight, get down to that trim 300 even, go out here and show what he can do as a 1-gap penetration style defensive tackle. But yeah, I think the way Clemson this season has gone, in season, it definitely hurts these guys' draft stocks because people are like, because let me tell you what happens, Keith. Most people go and look at the analytics and they're like, oh, well, his pressure rate isn't high, doesn't have sacks. I'm not watching him. You know what I mean? It just is what it is. The same thing with receivers. Like, he's only got 400 yards. Not watching that guy. And it's like, now you might want to turn the tape and see exactly what happened. And I think that's what's going to happen after the season. But in season, it definitely hurts. It stings for them.
Yeah, and I the reason I brought it up, DP, was because I thought about draft narratives, right? And we know how narratives kind of follow players throughout the entire draft process because there's a certain element to this. And if I had to put a percentage, I would maybe throw 10 to 15% of it. It's strictly what's the narrative that follows you into draft day, right?
Yeah.
And we've seen guys go higher because the consensus likes them and because they get the winner label. And then we're sitting there like, yeah, I don't think that's going to work out, right? And then we've seen guys drop because of certain situation. And we talk about programs. One that I historically think about is Alabama, right? How many Alabama prospects have we seen go higher than what they should have, specifically on the offensive line, right? Like you could probably see 3-4 issues and then they still go first round. And you can bring this all the way back to the Chance Warmacks and the DJ Flukers, right? All the way to as of recent. That's almost 15 years of data, but because winning matters to a certain extent, right? Especially with popularity and all of those different things playing in the draft. So we'll see. But DP, let's do this, man. Let's keep this thing going and flowing. Coming up next, we are talking about coach 'em up. I hope you have your hat. I hope you have your whistle, DP. And I hope you have your prospect ready, man. We about to jump into coach 'em up, bring out a prospect, tell the coaches, listen, we drafted them. You go ahead and coach them up. We're going to talk about that coming up next.
NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fans, and cheering on your favorite team. But let's be honest, getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's frustrating. Well, and then that's why I use GameTime, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. GameTime is fast, easy, and backed by the GameTime guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all the fees are already included. So the price you see is the price you pay. The app is made to be super simple. I can even see the exact view from my seat before I even purchase and buy my ticket. So download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDON NFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download GameTime today. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and everyday shot for being our everydayers. Coach them up. NFL coaches, we got a player for you that you could draft. Don't say how high or how low. You could just draft a guy, develop him, and he could be a starter for you.
I'm telling my coach how high. I'm telling him where I'm drafting. I'm telling him what to do with him. So I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to roll.
I go right to Tennessee, and I go to the quarterback position. I go to Joey Aguilar.
Okay.
And for me, I went back to that Georgia film, and there were some things that this is not a guy that played at this level before up until now.
Biggest game of his career.
Biggest game of his career. So he left some balls with some too much air underneath it at times, and Chris Brazzell, kind of bailed him out with his ball skills and height and everything else. But the stuff I always go back to it when Georgia's on that run, and this game could get out of reach if you don't stop the bleeding. He stopped the bleeding with the deep ball to Chris Brazzell. He knows how to use his legs. He is a good athlete. I think his arm is good, but not great. And I think where you want to coach him up is just from a decision-making standpoint, getting through his reads quicker, processing that information. And a lot of it is because he's never played at this level with this type of speed defensively that he's facing. I'm watching him, I'm like, it's not like he's not a confident player. He looked confident in the pocket. It just was like at times he was a tick too slow to get to that next read. And you're facing a Kirby Smart-led Georgia defense who's playing like at that moment, they had all the momentum. You know what I mean? They had already had multiple stops, things like that. And they're rolling right now. And I think for him, it's just like, hey, you get him in there and you take the tools he has. He's accurate with the football. I think he's like 6'3" or 6'4", 210 pounds. So he's a well-built in terms of sturdy build, height, weight, all that stuff. Again, athletic, straight line. You can do some zone read stuff in the red zone if you want to, do that. But he can push the ball down the field. He can make the accurate underneath throws. And that's why I just want the quick game, I think he can get better at. And it's like, how we're watching it right now in Indianapolis, right? Like, I was just on the news in Charlotte about 2 days, I think it was Monday. And, they asked me about the Colts. And I'm like, yeah, the Colts right now are feasting right now. You're giving Daniel Jones zone, Shane Steichen's dialing it up. They're running the ball heavy. It's working. I'm like, now, when you start seeing more press man, like they saw late in the game against Denver, that efficiency dropped. So it's like, how often will teams go to press man to limit that? When I look at it, Joey Aguilar, that's what you want to see. Get better in that quick game. Because in the NFL, the quicker you get the ball out and you're able to make those decisions, and not saying you have to death by 1,000 cuts every defense, but when you can then force a defense to step forward and because now they're too high shells, take away the deep ball. Well, all right, if I can dink and dunk you and force your safeties up, then I can get a play action or RPO, and I can take that one-on-one shot down the field and give us an opportunity. I think Joey Aguilar could be a starting quarterback in the NFL, but there's some stuff you're going to have to coach into him and really get him really acclimated to the speed. And I'm hoping through the SEC, the SEC play, that we see him get more acclimated, Keith, because this young man is talented.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I was going to be aggressive in saying that, as he's played this year, right? I think he's played himself into the conversation of a top 100 pick, right? Just based off of what he did, and with the arrow going up, it seems like it's been a seamless transition and to the Tennessee offense. With that being said, we've talked about how the Tennessee offense may kind of put a governor on certain things. So I think the quick game, like you said, DP, is extremely important to be able to see that stuff, get the football out your hands quickly, and go from there. I'm gonna go with my guy, DP, and my guy, I think it could kind of be an our guy thing because you like him too. Malachi Fields. I just finished up his film, just really did a real deep dive into him, and I'm gonna go as aggressive as this. I put him in the first round of my mock. This big 6'3", 6'4", he has the short area quickness. He's fluid. He got the quick twitch. I think he has multiple releases at the line of scrimmage. He'll go up and get the football. He's a smooth accelerator in the open field. I don't think he's necessarily once we get to 35 yards, I'm separating, but he'll stride away from some guys if you're speed deficient, right? Like if you get him on a safety, he'll be able to pull away. I just like what he can provide, DP. And while we're trying to figure out, what this draft order kind of looks as far as wide receiver, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that type of conversation. I like this young man, and he's not getting at Notre Dame. I think this past week he had one explosive play, and then I think Texas A&M, he might have had another explosive play, and then it hasn't been a lot, right? I think he's hovering around somewhere around 5 to 6 catches a game. I don't think he's cracked 100 yards yet, and I'm not sure if he will, right? Just with Notre Dame's offense and their history of quarterbacking. I think that's the best way to put it. I don't know if he's going to touch that, but this young man, his profile is skilled. I think there's a lot there to be kind of uncovered and then also developed into something. I like this young man a lot, DP.
No, I do too. We talked about him in the summer. I felt like no one really knew who he was coming out of Virginia, transferring to Notre Dame and everything. And for those who don't know, he's listed at 6'4", 222 pounds. This is a big dude.
He can move, DP. That was it was the start stop ability, the lateral agility, playing his legs, playing a foot in the ground. That's what I was impressed with. And then him finishing runs. Like you get this guy going vertical like this, like you said, he's listed at 6'4", 220 pounds. It's a big boy. And you get him going vertical and allowing him to finish runs, which he will drop a shoulder on a defensive back. This becomes a load. It becomes a lot for defensive backs. You're talking about defensive backs that's some of them 180 pounds, right? That's a 40-pound difference on a wide receiver.
I just thought of a name, Keith. Brandon Marshall.
That I thought that. I hate to you know what? We're just gonna say it, right? The Brandon Marshalls, the AJ Browns, those type of big, physically dominant wide receivers, he has an opportunity to hit that. It's a matter if he does, but he has opportunity. So I'm excited about this. Yeah, he's talented. Yep. So I'm excited for this young man overall. Like I said, I'm drafting him. I'm giving it to my coach, and I'm telling him to figure it out. Right? If you don't get this right, that's on you.
You might not need your job if you can't figure this out. Because he's gotten better each game. He had 40. He was 3 for 3 for 48 yards against Miami. He got 11 targets against Texas A&M, 5 for 77, 2 targets, 2 catches, 78 yards, and a touchdown. He had that. What was it? Like a 60, 70 yard. It was a 66-yard bomb against Purdue. Right. Keep feeding him, man. Like Jeremiyah Love, I got Jordan Faison, Jaden Greathouse. I think it should be Jeremiyah Love and it should be Malachi Fields that are your top 2 players on this offense to make CJ Carr's life a lot easier.
Yeah, I agree, DP. The one thing I want to see from him is the catches, right? Just to make sure that he has sure hands. I've seen him make
Yeah.
contested catches, but just
Yeah.
make sure he's a natural hands catcher. That's like the
Mm-hmm.
last thing that needs to get checked off. I don't think I'm really gonna be able to check that off until he has 50 to 70 targets, which at the rate they're going, that might be the whole season, right?
Yeah, let's see if they get to the CP, we get that type of ball.
We'll see. But DP, that wraps up another episode, man, of the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast. I want to end this podcast off by saying shout out to our everydayers. Thank you for tapping in with us each and every single day. I am Keith Sanchez. You can find me on X at The Talent Code. That right there is my guy, my co-host, Mr. Damian Parson. You can find him on X at DP_NFL. And like we like to say, man, y'all come talk to us because we like to talk back.
Go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. On tomorrow's show, guys, we're previewing Week 5 of college football for the 2026 NFL Draft. Can you believe it? Week 5 is already here for college football. Those offensive make-a statement players, defensive make-a statement players, and those sleeper prospects that you must watch this weekend in college football. Come and join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.